Chuck Jones sat down and wrote a set of rules for what a Wile E. Coyote cartoon is allowed to do. Not guidelines, rules. The Roadrunner can only ever say beep beep. Nothing is allowed to hurt the Coyote except his own stupidity and a faulty Acme product. Gravity is the villain. And the director of the new movie says he's stuck to them. So let's find out how closely the trailer is following the Coyote rules. And where I stand, the trailer breaks 2 of them before they leave the desert. Hey, I'm Kim, and I was around when we got 3 Warner Brother cartoon shorts on Channel 9 after school, and it was called The Bugs Bunny Show. Now I work in animation and VFX. Let's get into it. Now here's the fun part. I'm scoring this blind. Coyote vs Acme doesn't open in Australia until the 17th of September. So all I've got is the trailer. Same as you, which means I'm putting my read on the record before anybody can tell me the answer. And in September, I'll come back and find out how badly I did. If you've already seen it, mash that keyboard and tell me in the comments. No spoilers though. I'd like to be wrong on my own. So, why are there rules for a cartoon? To keep everyone working on the series on the same page, the original creator, Chuck Jones, outlined rules for the Coyote and the Roadrunner to play in. If you have no constraints in the world, then the viewer would get lost and not know what a Coyote cartoon looked or felt like. But because there are strict rules around what can happen in the world, the viewer knows when they're watching a true Coyote cartoon. He laid these out in his memoirs back in 1989. 9 of them get quoted most of the time. There were a couple more. Let's check these rules against the trailer. Number 1, the rocket boots gag. This is close to the second Roadrunner cartoon, Beep Beep from 1952, where the Coyote straps on a pair of Acme rocket-powered roller skates. The core of the gag lines up with rule number 2. Acme products fail. Both have the clear setup showing the box with the product and the fantastic brand sponsorship naming, Acme, pronounced right there on the box. Both lean into the Coyote anticipating his genius plan, and in both cases, the product failure causes the dilemma. Number 2, the ball-bearing birdseed. A tested route to catching the Roadrunner is adding steel to his free birdseed. Birdseed and the giant magnet turn up in the 4th cartoon, Zipping Along from 1953. This one's actually the first time Wile E puts birdseed out as a trap, and the first time the Roadrunner eats it. Rule 7 clearly states that all tools and weapons are to come from the Acme Corporation. Again, the movie clearly shows the packaging is Acme. Rule 9 says the Coyote should be more humiliated than harmed. Sure, getting run over by a truck is harm, but after each axle knocks him down, the Coyote's silhouette still bounces back up. Let's touch on the other rules as they compare. Rule 1, the Roadrunner cannot harm the Coyote. In the trailer, this is holding. Rule 3, the Coyote could stop any time, but he's a fanatic. Well, yes, and that's what led him to realise it isn't his fault that he hasn't caught the Roadrunner. Rule 8, make gravity the Coyote's greatest enemy. Now this one isn't in either of these gags. The boots explode, which is Acme's fault, not gravity's. But look at the anvils coming out of the sky and the piano landing on the car. Gravity is still on the payroll. Rule 10, the audience's sympathy must remain with the Coyote. A whole film about a Coyote suing the company that keeps nearly killing him is the most sympathetic idea anyone's ever had. Now let's touch on the rules that don't fit. All action confined to the natural environment, and the Roadrunner must stay on the road. We know the Coyote is going into the city to fight a court case, and that gets us straight out of his natural environment. That rule is gone. And the Roadrunner has to stay on the road. Now, I can't tell from the trailer where he ends up. So this one might only be half broken, but half broken, still broken. That's 2. Where the Roadrunner actually ends up is the first thing I'll be checking in September. And then there's rule number 4. No dialogue, ever, except beep beep and yowling in pain. The whole premise of this movie is a courtroom drama. Wall-to-wall talking, discussion, debate. What a dilemma for a non-speaking character. But the film has really lent into it. The Coyote is great with signs in the trailer, and the comedic timing of these signs is doing exactly what it always did in the shorts. Reviewers who've already seen it say he never speaks. Not once, the whole film. Eric Boyza is credited as the voice, and he's given nothing to say. So those yowlings must be awesome. They built a movie made of talking, and the character at the centre of it doesn't get a single dialogue line. I can't wait to see that play out across the whole feature. Here's the part nobody else is covering. In 2010, Warner Brothers put out 3 CG Roadrunner shorts. Stereo 3D, 3 minutes each, directed by Matt O'Callaghan. Coyote Falls, The Fur is Flying, and Rapid Rider. They ran in front of Cats and Dogs 2, Legend of the Guardians, and Yogi Bear. Now the comparison people expect here is 2D versus 3D. That's not what this is. The new film isn't hand-drawn either. It's 3D CG rendered to look 2D, built by DNEG, the same approach they use for Tom and Jerry and Chip and Dale. So this isn't the first attempt at putting these characters in CG. It's the second one, and there are 16 years between them. So how do these two compare? In 2010, they were trying to create the world in 3D. They put a lot into the look development of the characters to make a more realistic feel for them. The Roadrunner has feathers, the Coyote has fur. The environments were faithful to the original. In 2026, they've taken the 2D character style and put it into a full 3D world. The desert looks like it could be shot footage, but the 3D characters are distinctively set up to render as 2D characters, and they pop out of the real world they find themselves transitioning into. The rules of the world are still kept faithful. The squash and stretch in the animation remains from the original. Even the multiple limbs make an appearance to emphasize fast motion. The shorts were a fantastic proving ground for the transition of these characters into a 3D world. And they held up amazingly. The film breaks the rules, but since this is a feature rather than a short, these rules did not need to be stretched. They have left behind the ones that don't support the story and lent into the rules that were left. So that's my scorecard. They broke 2, and both of them were about where the story happens. Every rule about who the Coyote is, they kept. And I think that's the right way round. A 7-minute short can live in one stretch of a desert. A feature can't. Something had to give. And what they gave up was the scenery. Because the rules were never really about the desert. They were about the character who could not win, could not stop, and cannot say a single word about any of it. And somehow you're on his side the whole way through. That's the whole story beat that holds it all together. The desert sands were just where they played. They kept what holds it together. And look, this is the film that got finished, got shelved, and then got dragged back into the light by people who refused to let it disappear. Whatever else it turns out to be, somebody in there cared enough to get the rules right. That'll do for me. If you appreciate this sort of content, don't be a stranger and whack that like button. Coyote vs Acme opens here on the 17th of September, so I'll eagerly be waiting for that to come out and come back after that and tell you how badly I scored this. Remember, stories keep our history alive and keep animating that entertains.